What if you had instant analytics on your PDP images and a faster way to create content that performs better? That's what we're diving into in today's episode, how top brands and retailers are using analytics and automation to stay ahead across retail media and the digital shelf. It's Rapid helps teams scale smarter. They analyze image performance, they help you create optimized assets for retail media networks and the digital shelf, and they integrate directly with PIM and DAM systems for seamless execution. Brands like Pepsi, Mondelez, and Instacart use its Rapid to go beyond basic tools to uncover gaps in PDP and retail media performance by analyzing the images themselves, not just the count. Streamline banner creation across hundreds of formats for Amazon Ads, Walmart Connect, and other retail and social platforms, and launch high-performing content more than 80% faster across e-commerce and marketing channels. If you're buried in manual work or struggling to keep up, this episode and It's Rapid will show you a better way. Visit itsrapid.ai to learn more.
Welcome to Beyond the Shelf with Dave Feinlieb. This show is an open exploration of the people and process behind e-commerce. Through conversations with innovators in the space, we learn the stories of these leaders and their strategies for e-commerce success. We publish new episodes every Tuesday morning, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Dave Feinlieb.
Welcome back to Beyond the Shelf. Today we're joined by Stephen Shepard, Head of Strategy and Consulting at Tesco Media, someone who spent the last 15 plus years helping retailers and brands turn data into impact. Stephen has seen the retail media space grow from a buzzword into a multi-billion-dollar engine, and at Tesco Media, he's helping shape what comes next. From customer-first ad strategies to collaborative measurement, Stephen works where media, shopper insight, and brand strategy come together. In this episode, we're digging into what's working, what's still too complicated, and why creative may just be retail media's most under-leveraged advantage. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, David. It's great to be here.
Great to have you on the show. Take us back. How'd you get your start in the space?
Well, I think pretty much everyone I've spoken to in retail media starts in lots of different areas, and I certainly am no exception. So I finished university and ended up teaching in China and Japan for about 5 years. So did a lot of work in teaching. Eventually came back to the UK and found a job with a company called Frontline, who worked in magazine distribution, which was a great area to cut my teeth in data analytics and what maybe would be called data science now, but back then it was analytics, and started working closely with Dunnhumby at that time, and eventually got a job with Dunnhumby. So joined just as Dunnhumby were launching a retail media solution for Tesco, and that was 18 years ago, so some time. So started in commercial, then moved across product, proposition, strategy, consulting, worked with data, worked with lots of different areas. So I've been really lucky to see how this amazing area has grown, I'd say, over the last significant 18 years.
So great. An early start in retail media and combined with a data background just must have given you a great lens on the space. Tell us a little about the retail media part and Tesco Media.
So Tesco Media, Dunnhumby, obviously, Dunnhumby have worked in the retail media space for some time, and obviously Tesco as well. And really, Tesco Media is about bringing the best of Tesco and Dunnhumby together. I would say that kind of works around the area of customer first. So thinking, as Tesco do, as they launched the Tesco Club Card in 1995, which is 30 years ago, and we're very much about using data to serve customers better. And I think that's just one of those things that's stayed through the test of time, that over 30 years, it's still totally true. And in retail media, what we are trying to do is, really give the best media experiences to customers through data. Tesco now has over 24 million club card households, so a significant number of customers using that. And it's really about giving great experiences and rewarding customers, through media and other channels.
You've got a front row seat when it comes to retail media. Tell us what's working, what makes for the best in terms of effectiveness, quality when it comes to retail media.
So I think, again, let's come back to customer experience. So how do you enhance the customer journey? How do you drive a really good outcome for a customer? How do you give them good context, relevance? I think sometimes in retail media, it can get easy to be dazzled by tech and platforms and targeting, but ultimately it's about the customer. So I'd always be thinking, let's not think about CPC, CPMs, these acronyms. Let's actually think about the customer and think how we're building solutions that really work for them. And we have a mantra which is very much win-win-win, which is how does the retailer win, how does the customer win, and how does the client win or the agency. So making sure that when you're looking at the value equation, retail media is there for the customer and it's to benefit the customer journey.
Makes total sense. Now, we'd all like to be more customer first. Will you tell us what that means to you, this customer first lens?
So retailers are brilliant at driving loyalty, and that is such an important thing. So I think the first thing you're thinking is make sure that the loyalty that you have as a retailer isn't eroded by retail media. It's not just about monetizing a website or a store. I would almost say, go back, put yourself in the shoes of the customer. So what would your mum think about retail media? What would your brother think about retail media? What do other people think about retail media? Actually,
Right.
And it's actually testing things. So when you're launching new propositions or products, what's the UX? What's the customer experience? And how do you measure that? How do you understand if it's really helping the customer? Certainly, when you're thinking about measurements as well, don't just think about, KPIs that are about client, but actually think about how is this helping customer engagement? Is it bringing new customers into a brand? And are they actually staying with that brand? So lifetime value, etc. So I think it's that full ecosystem that I would point back to.
Great way to think about it and great insights. Tell us a little about the customer journey when it comes to retail media and media more broadly.
Yes, I mean, I think retail media is the exciting place to be for media. Again, customer first, but thinking about the outcomes. So, what is it that you're trying to achieve as a brand or an agency? We have a narrative around sofa to store. So that's not to suggest that customers start on the sofa looking at let's say Tesco magazine and then move through into the store and see a digital signage. That's actually to say, well, there's lots of micro decisions that happen within the customer journey. And how do we connect those non-linear, fluid journeys together? Are they browsing on real food, looking at recipes? And how are we being additive in that space? And how are you building propositions that really deliver against that? So thinking digital signage. In the UK, Scan as you shop is a particularly big device for in-store use. Even things like store radio, sampling, obviously sponsored product. Lots of retailers now, including Tesco, are focusing on video. So there's new formats coming through. So actually, how do you build that cohesive media plan with multiple touch points and then measure against it?
Great way to think about it. And I love this idea of micro decisions. I think we often think it's one big decision and it's really a whole bunch of smaller decisions that go into that whole journey. So great insights there. Tell us about the retail media space evolution. Obviously it's changed a lot and it continues to evolve. What role has Tesco Media played in shaping that evolution?
Yeah, so I think some things are exactly the same and some things have obviously significantly changed. If I go back to 18 years ago, rewind the clock where I started in retail media, so I used to sell Tesco.com. I used to sell Tesco magazine and then club card mailings and coupon at till. And actually, a lot of it was the same. In Dunnhumby, we have a product called The Shop, which is, an analytics tool that really helps you plan and understand customer behavior. So actually using that at the time to plan media campaigns. So we were doing this 18 years ago. And I'd say it's this piece that retailers have always been a really important place for brands to connect at the point of purchase. That hasn't really changed. But what has changed is the scale, the channels, the data, and all of the different areas that you're now bringing together. So if I think back at that time, let's say I was selling 4 different media products. Now, potentially, you're talking 20, 30, 40. And how do you orchestrate those? How do you bring them into the customer journey? How do you make it so that everything isn't too complicated? Which I think, again, the evolution that we're seeing is AI and simplification. And actually, we were talking earlier, but AI doesn't have to be about the latest video. Actually, it can be about, checking prices, making sure products are ranged. So really useful things that are in that space as well. So there's a lot that goes into retail media. And definitely, I think it's just something that evolves in lots of different directions.
This episode of Beyond the Shelf is brought to you by It's Rapid. It's Rapid is the platform Pepsi, Mondelez, Instacart, and hundreds of other leading brands and retailers use to build personalized content at scale. Whether that's images, videos, or product descriptions for their product detail pages, shoppable videos or banners for their digital ad campaigns, or sell sheets for sales enablement, brands that use It's Rapid are able to produce high-quality, on-brand content on average more than 80% faster than category competitors. To find out more, please visit itsrapid.ai.
So really balancing this increase in volume of formats, which is really exciting, but also maintaining that simplicity across that whole spectrum. So really exciting there. Let's talk creative for a moment. How do brands bring data and creative together?
Yeah. So again, I think retailers as a real area for brand growth now this is a super exciting area. So I think you've got the piece of creative storytelling, and what you're doing is infusing that with data science. So getting real actionable insights. So just to give an example, it's quite easy, but actually very powerful. So within data science, you're going to understand customers who really like to trial new products. So actually, when you're thinking about that, how are you targeting them? But how are you engaging with them with messaging that's important to them? So is it that, the new product is gluten-free, it's an almond milk. Actually, how are you targeting that? How are you using maybe messaging that, talks to what is important to that customer? And also just coming back to that piece of within a retailer, actually, you have some really strong insights. So you can understand what's resonating with the customer and what isn't. And even if I go back, to the start of my retail media journey, this was something we'd often look at, is to understand maybe a campaign didn't perform as well as was hoped, but actually it overperformed in a certain segment. So it could have been a finer food segment where this campaign really resonated with customers, and perhaps price sensitive customers, it didn't resonate, or different segmentation. So I think there's a lot in that space with creative storytelling and data science that starts overlapping, and how do you really start benefiting from that as a retailer?
So great. So really exciting to be able to bring data and creative together. And your point about segmentation is, I think, a really good one. Tell us about the creative itself, formats, designs, approaches. What are you seeing work well in the market?
So again, I think there's a piece around formats, and I'd say it's this piece around micro decisioning, because there's not one overarching retail media format. You see, maybe you see banner dividers in store, maybe you see sponsored product, but actually the research that we have definitely talks around, the multiple touch points and engagement with customers is the way to really grow brands and get that performance. So I think, again, if you're thinking of planning or setting up retail media networks, you don't just want to be thinking of one or two pieces of inventory. Actually, how are you communicating with your customer at the right time, the right place? Is it at home? Is it in store? Is it on the way to the store? So thinking around all of the formats that support that.
Great. So a lot of formats, a lot of excitement in the space. Looking ahead as retail media continues to expand, what excites you about where the space is headed?
So I'm going to come back with two areas here, and I think, and actually one of them is functional. So often in the current world, we think AI is this super complex and it's going to solve lots of things. And obviously that's true, but actually it can really help retailers with, important areas. So it could be creative guidelines. It could be understanding ranging of products. So when you're advertising a product offsite or on your website, making sure that the product's actually ranged and available at that point of time. Thinking about pricing as well. Pricing is really important for creative delivery. How are you checking pricing? Making sure that if you've got a creative, the pricing's up to date. And also guidelines like HFSS in the UK. So again, making sure that products are compliant if you're advertising. So I think there's a fair bit that AI is bringing to the party. And then I think the wider piece is this area of building brands. So it could even be non-endemic being a really good example. So with Tesco, we've been working with Vauxhall, and that's in the charging points in the car park. So I think there's a piece around non-endemic where, customer data is really useful to understand how we benefit customers. And EV charging, for example, is something that lots of retailers around the globe will be doing. And actually, how do we support and have brand solutions in that space? There's obviously things around personalization, creative automation. So I think there's a lot in that space to be excited about. And super excited for the next few years to see what it brings and solve some of the complexity, which undoubtedly is part of retail media.
Great insights. A lot to be excited about. Couldn't agree with you more. I've got our rapid rundown for you, which is a few fast-paced questions. Your quick thoughts. First off, what is a retail media buzzword you'd be happy to retire?
Okay, so I'm going to go with the standard one. And then I thought I might actually test you a little bit, David. So see if you've got, because there's a lot of acronyms in retail
Yeah,
media.
right.
So the one that I'm going to retire is ROAS. And the reason I'm retiring it is it's obviously the most used acronym on the basis that it's a very performant metric. And actually, I think retail media now is proven to be very much brand focused as well as performance focused. So yeah. And then I would add a few acronyms like MMM. So do you have that acronym?
Ooh, I don't know. You're going to have to fill me in on that one.
So we'll have market mix modeling as, a very brand kind of solution. CLTV, customer lifetime value. NTB, new to brand. And NTC, new to category. So while we retire ROAS, there's plenty other acronyms to take its place, particularly in the brand space, I think. So something that a lot of retailers are really focused on.
So great. Love those. People are going to hit us up on this episode for the retail media glossary. I'll send them. I'll say, talk to Steve if you need the lowdown on any of these. The most used app on your phone that is not email.
Yep. So I'm going to go with probably pretty standard, but I'm going to go with a unique use case. So I use two apps, and this is often while I'm in the car or at home. So Perplexity and ChatGPT. But my use case is actually practicing Japanese language. So after a long time away from Japan, I'm definitely basic to intermediary now. But I still like to practice, and I like to flick between Perplexity and ChatGPT and have a little bit of conversational Japanese on a night, because I don't think there's anyone else who would speak to me in Japanese. I'm using the LLMs for that use case.
So great. It's a great thing to do. During our chat when we were talking about topics for this podcast. I saw that you like to play the guitar. Tell us how you got started with that.
Yeah, so this was a long time ago, and I think it was a friend of mine just gave me an old broken guitar. So I went to a music shop in Stockton, a town that's near where I live, and bought the tablature for Nirvana Nevermind. So for about 2 years, I could play all the songs on Nevermind and know the songs. So that was like my learning was all 11 songs, I think it is, on Nevermind and nothing else, because I had this one book that taught me, and that was pre-internet, so there wasn't the option to go on these wonderful apps and learn from people on YouTube, etc.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What's the old story? You only have to know one song really well. So sounds like you beat that. So that's so great.
Indeed.
Yeah. Right. Your favorite aisle to browse, even if you don't need anything.
Yeah, it's got to be the seasonal aisle, and I'm going to go F&F in Tesco. So going to Tesco, obviously I need to buy bread, milk, all of the products that are there, but then always stop at F&F. Do I need some socks? Do I need some gloves? Seasonal aisle, well, what have we got there? So yeah, absolutely that.
Well, we know you love retail media, but if you weren't working in retail media, what career could you see yourself in?
So I think I'd go back to just leaving university. So I was working over in China initially. So I'm actually teaching statistics when I was about 22. And I think being a teacher is obviously about teaching, but it's actually about learning as well. So you learn so much. And I think you bring that through into different careers. So part of it is trying to, in your current role, actually, how do you mentor people? How do you help people? But actually, how do you learn as well? So I think it would be going back to teaching.
What's the best way for our listeners to reach you?
So LinkedIn, I think, the old LinkedIn. So Stephen Shepherd at Tesco Media Insight platform, and always happy to connect and talk shop. So absolutely.
Steve Shepherd from Tesco Media, thanks so much for joining me here on Beyond the Shelf. It's been a pleasure talking with you and such great insights. I hope you'll come back.
Always willing to come back and always look forward to it, David. Thank you very much.
That's it for this week's episode of Beyond the Shelf. If you enjoy the show, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It really helps us grow. And feel free to share us with your colleagues so they too can hear weekly perspectives from the brightest minds in e-commerce. You can also check us out on LinkedIn, where we post clips from each episode, share Dave's takes on breaking industry news, and much more. Beyond the Shelf is a production of It's Rapid. Our host is Dave Feinlieb, and our producers are Sean Levy-Ashvili and Jake Musiker. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Shelf.